Hello, friends. So nice to be with you. So, we are coming into the second Sunday of Advent, and I wanted in this talk to give you a reflection that you can allow your time of meditation for Saturday and Sunday to come from. Now, in traditions with Advent, the second Sunday, where another purple candle is lit, is considered to be the Sunday of peace. So the first Sunday is hope, the second Sunday is peace, the third Sunday is joy, peace. And peace is an interesting word because it it points to something. All words point to something. But if you look at the etymology of peace, you'll see that it's freedom from things in some of its earliest uses. We have in some of the Old English languages, pes, P-E-S, in the 1200s, and frio in some other cultures. It evolves over the years, 100, 200, maybe 300 years, to add in an understanding of covenant. Hence why you may have a peace pipe for a treaty or peace agreements, but a covenant. And there is also etymologically, one of the translations of peace is a binding together. Wow, right? That's very powerful when we think of peace. Sometimes when we think of especially world peace, we think, let's just stop the violence. But what would it be like if, as a world, we actually had a covenant that was not just a binding covenant, but a covenant that bound us together in a state that's free of disturbance, that's filled with tranquility and all the qualities that go therein. So, my invitation for Saturday and Sunday is to allow your meditation to be covenantal. That is, using what practices you may be attracted to right now to sit and in that silence and in those practices, open up a new form of covenant with yourself and with the divine. Now, you could journal about this. You could flesh out what that might mean. You could use your imagination. You could draw a picture, but let it come into your meditation where you come into the presence, where you make the choice to covenantally step into a binding together, you with yourself, you with the divine, in a new way. I want to read a passage from Adyashanti's, a friend, a colleague, and a wonderful, wonderful awakening being. And he talks about the awakening process as being a little bit like the model of a rocket ship, that when an awakening experience happens, we are washed of so much, and we're propelled. We are absolutely propelled, and we don't seem to abide by the laws of the gravitational field. So he uses that image, and obviously, awakening is even more multifaceted than that. But he says awakening is very often a process. So we have these awakening experiences, and they will wash us to a certain degree of our enculturation. But the degree is different for everyone. For some, the degree of washing may be 20%. For others, it could be 95%. I think in the story that we have of Eckhart Tolle, that seemed to be a very, very all-consuming washing. I don't know him, so I don't know if he would say it was 100% washing of his culturation, but it was certainly a high percent. So when we look at that then, when we have these ecstatic experiences that wash us and enliven us, we can find that when we move out of those states, we find ourselves longing for them. And I am with Ajya on the passage I'm going to read to you. When a person's awakening vacillates, he or she often asks me, how do I stay in the awakened state? That is asking the wrong question. In spirituality, it is important that we ask the right questions. To wonder how to stay in the awakened state is a totally reasonable thing to do. But the question itself is arising from the dream state. Spirit never asks itself, how do I stay awake within myself? That would be ridiculous. It just makes no sense, coming from the true nature of things. What makes more sense is to ask how you unenlighten yourself. These are questions that point to that. What is still held on to? What is still confusing? What situations in life can get you to believe things that aren't true and cause you to go into contradiction, suffering, and separation? What is it specifically that has the power to entice consciousness back into the gravitational field of the dream state? We should not ask, how do I stay awake? Instead, we should ask, how is it that I am unenlightening myself? So he goes on in great detail about that. But I want to speak a little bit to it. And my invitation for your meditations would be to take one of those essential questions, or one that is essential that's arising within you in this reflection, and let that be the whole focus of 2 days, so you can come to a new covenant within yourself, a covenant committed to peace. So when we make this kind of commitment to ourselves, it naturally inculcates self-worth. It naturally nourishes and nurtures compassion that is unconditional. It naturally opens the self to be seen, to be heard, to be held. It naturally lends itself to awakening experiences with greater magnification. So there's a lot built into the willingness to come into covenant with yourself. There is a lot built into that. And it lets us take with tenderness seriously the ways that we allow ourselves to be pulled back into the dream state, or consciously go back into the dream state. It lets ourselves take ourselves seriously. And will be funny and pithy, but if we want to be taken seriously in the world, we have to take ourselves seriously. Because it's only when we take ourselves seriously that the world can buy into that resonance. And when we take ourselves seriously, we find the resource we need, such as courage, stability, vigilance, and patience, tenderness. We have all of those things. They go along with the action. And we find that we'll have less effort to cultivate these capacities, because just the willingness to enter into a deeper covenant with ourselves, just that intentionality itself brings along all the rest. It's like that line in the Song of Songs that I love so much, that's right in the beginning. Let him kiss me with the kisses of his mouth. Draw me, and we will run after you. So when we focus on the draw me, the covenantal part, everything else that is necessary, everything else that is meant to be, comes along with us. Wow, right? So that is the reflection for today that I want to invite you into, and I will be doing it on my end as well. Entering into meditation and taking one essential question that lets you come close to the ways that you move back into the dream state. And let that question and let that answer be held in the silence. You hold silence for yourself. Care for yourself. Respect yourself. Care enough that you're willing to go there. Isn't that powerful? I just think that that is just so powerful, so wonderful. So that is my reflection for you. And I could have roped in a gospel reading, but I didn't want to on this. I wanted you to enter into this weekend of being the place where the gospel is happening. Covenant is big in the Bible and many sacred texts of traditions. But if you study Christocentric theology with the scripture, one of the main things in the Hebrew scriptures and the Christian scriptures is covenant between the self and the self, between the self, small s, and the self, big S. Very powerful, and a great opportunity for us to enrich our weekend, a weekend called to light the light of peace. Great to be with you.